Some people look at OT as like they are just a light warm-up. I look at them like a warning shot, because in Foxborough, after reaching the Super Bowl, nobody gets a permanent seat just because their name looks good on paper. Rhamondre Stevenson can still control this backfield, even with TreVeyon Henderson breathing right down his neck. A former high draft pick is already walking into a nasty fight for survival. The big receiver rumor is still putting pressure on the price, the patience, and the courage of this front office. And Gabe Jacas? He is not coming in with some soft little story. He is coming in with hunting instincts. Subscribe right now because today the Patriots are not asking anybody for permission. They are sharpening the blade. The first hit of the day comes straight from the backfield, and I'm going to say it without backing down. Anybody acting shocked that Rhamondre Stevenson is still being viewed as the starter is ignoring how Mike Vrabel appears to see football. This is not a video game. You do not just look at TreVeyon Henderson, remember he was a second-round pick last year, and start yelling that the younger guy has to take the job right away. In Foxborough, especially on a team that just felt the pressure of a Super Bowl run, a starting job has to come with trust, protection, vision, toughness, and repetition. Chad Graff of The Athletic listed Stevenson as a winner in this battle before OTAs, and honestly, the logic is strong. The Patriots looked at the run game and did not say, the running back is the only problem. The staff saw explosive runs, yes, but they also saw inconsistent blocking. So the front office attacked the exact areas serious teams attack when they are tired of surviving on flashes. They upgraded left guard, added a young center with real breakout potential, brought in one of the best fullbacks in the league, and signed a blocking tight end. That is not roster decoration, that is building a road. And who benefits most when that road gets cleaner? Stevenson. He ran for 603 yards and 7 touchdowns on 130 carries last season, even in a setup that did not always help him. He is in the second year of that 4-year, $36 million deal, with a possible exit after this season, so there is contract pressure sitting there too. He knows 2026 could carry real weight for his future in New England. Now, Henderson does not fade out of this conversation, not even close. His presence is exactly what keeps everybody from getting comfortable. He has burst, major draft investment, and every reason to attack snaps from the very first practice. But if Vrabel trusted Stevenson more before, and Graff expects that to continue, I read that as a clear message. The Patriots want a run game that hits first and asks questions later. Henderson can be the lightning, Stevenson can still be the hammer. And honestly, I like that tension. Big-time teams do not treat depth like a problem. They treat it like healthy internal pressure. If Stevenson answers with force and Henderson keeps pushing behind him, Drake Maye does not just get a better run game. He gets an offense that is less predictable, more physical, and a whole lot more irritating to defend. Now we get to the name that stings because it carries a draft label, Caedan Wallace. And this is where the conversation stops being pretty. The Patriots took Wallace in the 3rd round in 2024, pick 68, out of Penn State, with the belief that he could develop into a starting tackle. 2 years later, Chad Graff has him listed as a possible cut candidate before the 2026 season. For an average team, that would already feel uncomfortable. For a team that just reached the Super Bowl and knows every roster spot is going to be fought for, that is a red alert. Graff was direct. First, they tried Wallace at tackle. Then a new coaching staff moved him to guard, trying to pull a different response out of him. But neither approach turned into real playing time. Last season, Wallace played only 8 offensive snaps. 8! That is not just a small sample for a developing starter. That is almost a distress signal inside an offensive line room that just got much more competitive. And that is where the good kind of roster cruelty shows up. The Patriots drafted Caleb Lomu in the 1st round, and the expectation is that he will be the swing tackle. When that happens, the room to wait forever on a player gets smaller. It does not matter that the name came high in the draft. It does not matter what the original plan was. Vrabel is not building a museum of old intentions. He is building a roster to support Drake Maye, protect leads, run the ball, and survive against heavy pass rush in January. The detail that should bother everybody in Foxborough is this. The 2024 class is already being viewed as a problem, and Wallace could become another symbol of a group that did not deliver what it needed to deliver. But I'm not here to give a pity speech. In this current Patriots setup, the opportunity is still sitting right there. OTAs start May 27th, then continue May 29th, June 1st and 2nd, June 4th, June 8th and 9th, and June 11th, before mandatory minicamp from June 15th to 17th. That calendar is his chance to fight. But fighting now means earning respect. It is not enough to look versatile. It is not enough to be a former 3rd-round pick. Wallace has to prove he can hold a real role, because this team is no longer in patient rebuild mode. It is in accountability mode. And when an offensive lineman reaches this point, the question gets brutal. Is he going to become a useful piece, or is he going to become the memory of a pick Foxborough can no longer afford to protect? And now we get to the saga that will not let this fan base breathe. A.J. Brown. The Patriots have been linked to him all offseason, and I completely understand why. When an offense has Drake Maye, reaches the Super Bowl, and still looks at the receiver room feeling like it needs one violent difference maker, Brown's name becomes more than a rumor. It becomes a challenge. It becomes a test of ambition. But Mike Garafolo added some poison to the whole situation. He said on the Rich Eisen show that this could play out with Brown on another team, likely the Patriots, but he also would not totally rule out other teams. And that changes the temperature. Because we are not talking about New England just rolling up to Philadelphia, handing over any random package, and driving away with a dominant wide receiver in the passenger seat. Howie Roseman does not work like that. If he senses the Patriots want him badly, he is going to squeeze. He is going to call other teams. He is going to try to drive the price up. He is going to turn every extra day into pressure. And you know what? That is exactly where the Patriots need to be aggressive without getting reckless. There is a difference between attacking the market and becoming hostage to it. A.J. Brown would change the geometry of this offense. He forces safeties to respect strength, depth, contact, and contested catches. He gives Maye a target who does not need the perfect situation to win. After New England did not draft a single wide receiver and signed Romeo Doubs, a lot of people read the room and thought, they know something. Maybe they do. Maybe they are just keeping flexibility. But the silence in the draft gave this speculation a whole lot more fuel. On the Eagles side, the signals keep feeding the fire too. Philadelphia traded for Dontavian Wicks and moved up in the first round to get Mekhi Lemon. When a team makes moves like that while a star receiver's name is floating around, the market starts connecting dots. And if Roseman is preparing an exit, he is not handing Brown over at a discount just because the Patriots have a need. So here is the simple, heavy question for the community. How far would you go for A.J. Brown? Would you pay big to give Drake Maye a true alpha right now? Or would you protect your assets because this roster still needs depth in other spots? I want to see that fight in the comments because this debate shows what kind of fan base we are. The one that protects resources or the one that crushes an opportunity when it appears? My read? If the price gets into a reasonable range, New England cannot act timid. After a Super Bowl season, the message cannot be, let's wait and see. There are moments when a franchise has to look at its young quarterback and say, we are putting real ammunition in your hands. Now we move away from price tags, cuts, and roster depth, and we get into something Foxborough has always valued, competitive violence. Gabe Jacas does not arrive with the Patriots only as a second-round pick. He arrives with the kind of story that tests whether a player truly loves the chaos. And that play against Northwestern explains it better than any scouting profile ever could. Slippery field, snow in Illinois, early fourth quarter, Illinois leading 17-10, Northwestern in enemy territory. Jacas lined up in a 4-point stance across from Caleb Tiernan, a 6'8" tackle who would later be drafted in the third round. It was not even one of those obvious third and long spots where every edge rusher starts licking his chops. It was 1st and 10. Still, at the snap, Jacas hit Tiernan in the chest, knocked him back, recognized play action, accelerated, tried to win outside, then spun back to break free. The tackle was cooked. And the wildest part was not even winning the block. It was refusing to quit when quarterback Preston Stone escaped to the right with a head start. The chase lasted 10 seconds, covered about 40 yards, and Jacas finished by swallowing the quarterback near the sideline for a 7-yard sack. That is the kind of play a coach pauses in a meeting and says, that is what I want on my team. Aaron Henry, then Illinois' defensive coordinator, explained the core of it. Wrestler mentality. Never stop, never let go. And that mentality did not come out of nowhere. It was built in Pat Seidel's wrestling room at Fort Pierce Central High School, a hot, heavy, loud place with no room for excuses. Seidel worked as a SWAT officer and demanded real intensity. Jacas' brother Khalik, a former FIU edge rusher, was part of that foundation too, training with him, battling him, giving him the kind of resistance most teenagers never get. Henry said he watched a practice where Jacas simply did not stop. He wrestled his brother, teammates, Seidel himself, sometimes 2 guys at once, for about 2 hours. That is not normal. That is not just conditioning. That is different mental wiring. And when it was time to compete, Jacas brought all of that to the mat. As a junior at 220 pounds, he went 25-4 and ended a 27-year Fort Pierce Central drought by winning a state title. Before the match, he dropped a line that carries special weight in Boston. Anything is possible. Then, as a senior, he moved up to heavyweight, faced athletes as big as 285 pounds, won 45 of 47 matches, and took another state title with an extremely quick pin. That is why this story matters for the Patriots. New England does not just need athletes who look good at the combine, it needs defenders who keep hunting when the play looks dead. Jacas still has to prove technique, adjustment, and production against NFL players, but if that instinct travels from Illinois to Foxborough, this defense got more than a young edge, it got a pursuer. In the end, these four stories are telling the same truth from different angles. Stevenson still has to prove he is the right engine for this offense. Wallace is facing the kind of pressure that separates a promise from a disposable piece. A.J. Brown has become the front office's courage test because they cannot play around with the early prime of Drake Maye. And Jacas represents the profile every fan respects, the guy who chases until the final inch. This is the Patriots entering 2026 hungry, demanding, and running low on patience for excuses. If you want to follow this roster battle every single day, hit the like button, subscribe, and come back for the next video.